here and there. It sounds like that may not be the case. It's not a mandate from on high, is it?
Um, I don't know. I think the mandate from up high that to get to the cloud now. The question comes into play is what is mandated to get to the cloud, right? You know,
Right.
it doesn't mean that everything has to, not like they have to be like, okay, we have to get 100% of stuff to the cloud, right? It could just be we
Yeah, I
have.
mean, usually you guys tell me, but usually if you're hearing a mandate that's, way up at the very top of the organization, they're, if they've got enough thought at all in it, it's usually around, they believe cost reduction. There's a small IT organization or it's a huge one and they need to reduce it, or, you name all the different things. I mean, and usually they don't have a clue about, seasonality and burstability and all the different things that, and that you look at when you look at applications, and having to rewrite applications. And so I'm just trying to figure out, where this is coming from. It sounds like it's more a IT play than it is a company play.
Could be. Like, I know it is in the 10K report. So that's why I said when speaking with the IT group, and then also reading their 10K reports, things tend to jive with it, right? You see it from multiple different aspects. That's what you want, right? You want to see it from. You don't want to just think that that's what they told you, and not know if that's really from the top down. So,
Okay. And I just looked at the time. I'm hindering you from rolling ahead here. Sorry.
no, that's the whole point of this. I want to make sure that we're in the same place. So key people that we speak to on a regular basis is Sean Persing, which is he's our champion. He is the Sean. We go out to lunch on a regular basis with him. We are on a text status with him. I thought we talked about what we're doing on the weekends. We're getting to the point. Hopefully, it's a good business relationship. That's me. That's Chris as well. And then Joachim he's in Germany. He is he's the feet on the he runs everything. He deals with everything, and he's the one that tests everything out to make sure that it works the way that we obviously say it's going to work. And they really are starting to become confident in Nutanix's abilities with what we have to offer and what we've done so far and what we've shown to them. About a year ago, David Schollenholz became Sean's manager. They offered Sean the role first. He decided not to take it. So David took the role. And it's kind of a weird scenario because I don't know how to explain this, but Sean is the one that is the decision maker. He is the one that does everything, that says how it is. David is just the one that signs off. He's the one that takes the credit. Chris, do you think I explained that to its justice, or how would you explain it?
Yeah, this guy is basically I was trying to think about, how you ghostwriter, let's say, as far as a book author. Sean is definitely the one that is the day-to-day manager, director. He serves a lot of roles for them. And this David guy is just a rubber stamp to approval for infrastructure decisions.
So that's our view. Is that based on our small footprint in the world of David? Share of wallet determines how much time you get with somebody usually. So are we just a tiny share of wallet? And so therefore it's like, yeah, okay, we just rubber stamp. Yeah, whatever Sean says, that's fine.
No, it is. It's been Sean has said it many times. I've talked to David once before, and David says the same. He says it in different words. He just says whatever Sean wants, we get. So,
And the partner who's selling stuff beyond just the Nutanix, to your point, small coins versus a larger wallet, is engaging with Sean at that same level,
Yeah.
with that same expectation. So it's not just Nutanix; it's Sean as a whole with all of his technical partners.
right.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you look at the level where we're at on the accountant app, which I use the Salesforce hierarchy board right here. So you see right here that this is David's role right here, and then Sean reports to David. We are working on different opportunities and another opportunity where what's called Factory of the Future, which is Sean's counterpart, which is new technology solutions within Sunoco products. Remember, I told you they're very innovative. They want to try new stuff. Well, Colleen has actually had conversations, and we've had conversations together with Sean to see what they're doing that's innovative and that's being more optimized and making things more work to its fullest, and has put in a good word for us on that aspect. So Colleen has now we're supposed to be scheduling a call with her in the next 2 weeks to schedule a discussion of what are the requirements for the sites that they're looking at. How can this help? What are they doing today? What are the applications that they're running? The standard questions, and to help us understand more of what their needs are. So that's the second. We're branching off into a larger division that you see right here, or not larger, but a different division.
What I'd like to see here is not just something from Google or their however this is documented. It's also on who do you know? So who are you working with? So remember we talked about there is I like to see a corporate structure and then an IT structure. So who else are we talking to? Are we talking to the app dev guys? Are we talking to networking? Are we talking to head of architecture? It's those people that you want to see in here too. That way, A, it shows you're covering the customer, and B, it will identify, hey, I need to be talking to these guys because, based on what we're talking about here, or in a group setting, whatever it may be, that's the person, that's the white space person that we need to go after. That's the influencer. So I think that's what needs to be done here. You got to demonstrate that, you're calling at various levels and, covering off the right people. And that's why we have the extended team and why we're doing this, because then it might be, oh, okay, Chris, Chris has a relationship or can talk at this level to this, right? Head of infrastructure, architecture, whatever you want to call it. And that way we can start to populate more of the organization.
Yeah. Okay. So add additional.
I would make one just for IT.
For IT.
Right? I'd make one for officer. You can include a CIO in there, a CISO in there,
Yeah.
chief marketing officer, that kind of stuff.
So basically, it basically would be going from Rajiv down to David. It would be all this. It would be all this stuff right here, but then branch off from Colleen to those people that
I would definitely want to know who's at Colleen's org.
What's that?
I said I would definitely want to know who's in Colleen's
Yeah.
org.
Especially with the opportunity.
And that's why we're starting to have that conversation with Colleen, because we're just branching off into that where we know.
Right.
I know Sean's org. very well because those are the people that we've worked with.
And that would be put in here. I wouldn't combine this with the officers slide. I would create a separate slide for IT.
Okay. So yeah, so basically it would just be this part down to here essentially.
What's the
And
difference? Is Jim Brain a CISO? It's cut off, so I can't tell. Or is he another CIO?
he's another CIO.
Interesting. Of what, I wonder?
Oh well, no, I'm sorry. I apologize. This is a CIO. This is the CISO. You're correct. Yes, if that's what you're asking. So he deals with the security aspect of it.
Yeah, Jim's a security guy.
Yep.
I would hope so if he's the CISO.
So, all right.
Let's put one in there for IT.
Yeah,
That in my
definitely.
notes. Good suggestion. All right. So you'll see here, I started off with, and I'll get into this a little bit further, but I started off with what's called the business SWOT analysis. A little bit different from IT SWOT. What I've learned is over my years, they don't always concur. They all don't always align. And so sometimes you have different aspects of that. And so I'm going to start with the business, and this is more about Sunoco products. A big thing about them is obviously, they pride themselves on brand recognition, doing what's right, making right decisions, being eco-friendly, that's their brand that they pride themselves about.
Hey, Aaron, I want to make sure that we spend time on the opportunities and the plans, the call plans, and the strategy for how we're going to close business. So let's keep that, in mind.
Okay. All right.
Right.
So I'll quickly then just kind of cover this, and then we'll skip over it, some stuff. Weaknesses with them that they've spoken about is that just multi-cloud strategy. They don't, everything, a lot of stuff is on premise, it's siloed, it's old infrastructure, it's it doesn't they, like I said, they pride themselves on being innovative, but a lot of their infrastructure today is not. So they're slowly kind of progressing that, and a big reason why they do for Nutanix. Now, opportunities is there's a lot of change. The company itself is expanding to different markets. They're expanding to different countries. They're expanding to different types of revenue opportunities. So there's a lot of growth there that I think is a good thing. For them, I mean, the biggest thing that they say is security, or is the threat is the security aspect of it. They've been hit with ransomware. They've had to pay out in the past. Material costs is only rising, and then in their world, regulations on what packaging can be printed on and what ink type it can be used, what type of equipment, and so forth, and just having the visibility into what those products are and how they're doing stuff. So those are some of the big threats that I see, and that I've spoken with the company as.
Hey, let me jump in and add something too from a technical side. One of the things that we think of in an enterprise account is that what we as sellers want to go after is that big data center opportunity as far as that goes, where we want to convert them and sweep the floor with all Nutanix gear. That's the big wins that Mark and team want. Well, guess what? This is not a company that has a data center. They have a larger regional office in Hartsville, South Carolina. And then from there, it's these outreach or remote edge type deployments that are at paper plants where they do this processing. They're worldwide. So the disparate systems that they're using is because of their spread. They don't have like a centralized IT. So they're trying to standardize and pave the way forward with Nutanix. But as far as this account being enterprise in the common sense, it's definitely focused around more of a manufacturing type environment where the remote locations are run almost independently. Like the governing body is like the umbrella, but they're allowed to work independently and run independently for the most part. So that's why their visibility for this guy Joaquin, who is the manager, he does his best with the information that he has, but he's got to trust a lot of people that he can't reach out and touch, if that makes sense. So just wanted to add that real quickly.
Thanks, Chris. All right. So with that said, I brought this into like what is the synergy of there's IT and then there's the business that we just spoke about. So their IT, some of their strengths is, you know, he speaks about it all the time. They're always an innovative, so large budget, you know, IT budget, making sure that things are up to date, that they're continuously growing and they're doing stuff. So
What's their budget? What's their IT budget?
so we've asked Sean that, and he said he told me that it's broken down into different aspects. There's hardware budget, there's software budget, there's services budget, and there were two other budgets. I just don't have those on me right now. So with those budgets, they're done by quarterly. So they have to put in a quarterly budget for what they're looking to do, and then they can submit for that. So this quarter, he said that they've gotten approved for $500,000 to do. That includes networking, that includes infrastructure, that includes cloud, that includes their UC, their communication piece. So that's the overarching aspect they have.
So he can rob for the rich and give to the poor, right? If you need more networking,
We've had that discussion, and he said it's very difficult because we asked at the end of last year, we asked, said, hey, can you help us out? You know, and because he had some extra budget in his communication budget. And we asked if we were able to pull some, you know, maybe extra sites in or whatever type of thing. And it takes a lot for procurement to approve that, which we have a good relationship with procurement as well. But that's a newer person that just started and has a lot to prove for himself. So sometimes he can, but there has to be a good justification for it, to answer your question.
So on that, when you mentioned procurement, you have a good relationship. Who do you not have a good relationship with?
I would say, so the procurement person we have a good relationship with, but then he has two people that are underneath him that don't necessarily make the decisions, but they kind of can hold things up. So those are the two that I have yet to actually have the discussion with. So,
Okay. That's what would come out in an org chart when we look at the various functions and those that we have no relationship with. That would be part of your opportunity pursuit plan.
yeah.
So
and then Colleen, I don't have truly a relationship with yet, but that's to, you know, that we're starting to kind of build that, or hopefully we'll start to build that.
yeah.
So, yeah. So that's that. You know, their big strength is that they are skillful. They have good knowledge of stuff, but they're a small IT staff. And then you know, the IT infrastructure is starting to become better because they're using Nutanix. Got a little bias on there.
So help me with the math here, so to speak, or the balancing. They have a large IT budget. They have a small staff. Do they have augmented staffing, or where are they spending that money? I mean, is it in the manufacturing facilities, or is it?
Yeah.
What do they consider IT? I guess really is.
I guess it's across the board. So I mean, it depends on what you're going to be speaking about. If you're talking about like their UC portion, like, you know, communications and whatnot, you know, even though it's centralized budget for him to be able to kind of make the decision where they want to do, it's still fragmented into the per manufacturer locations, right? They still have their own budget that they have to approve and say, okay, yeah, we want to do that. But it rolls up to Sean's overarching budget.
I guess maybe you already answered this, but I'm trying to get to, so large IT budget, what is his, part of that? So what is his share of the wallet of that large IT budget? And then what is our share of both his and?
Yep, good point, Tony. That's share
What is
wallet.
What is the infrastructure budget you're asking? Is that what you're talking about? Is that what you're asking?
So
I'm misunderstanding.
So you're saying there's a large IT budget, probably got that from, the something 10K or whatever, that there's this big IT budget. But then there's Sean's budget or David's budget. Is it David?
Yeah, David,
And yeah, so David's budget. So what share of that big IT budget is David's? And then what share of David's are we? Share of wallet, and the reason why I keep harping on share of wallet is simply because there's a couple of things. First of all, they're going to listen to who has the biggest share of wallet.
Yeah.
Where are they spending the most money? Whether it's going well or not, that's where they're going to give the cycles to. It also can help map where the opportunities are.
Yeah.
If they're spending a crap load of money with VMware, or they're spending a crap load of money with Azure or AWS, and that's where the big budget is being spent, then that kind of helps map where there's opportunities for us.
So I think what I said at the very beginning, I said that, they have a yearly budget, but that budget moves and changes quarterly. Is the best way I can explain it. At least that's what Sean says. So they do their projects, and depending on where that allocation is depending on where that budget is. To answer your question, I don't think there is an answer yet. I think it just depends on every given quarter what that budget's going to look like. If it's going to be our budget, or if it's going to be, networking, or whether it's going to be UC, or whether it's going to be something else.
Okay, we have 12 minutes.
Okay. So we'll kind of skip over some of these. These are the IT weaknesses. We obviously they're going on the legacy systems, fragmented systems. We already spoke about that. Some of the threats. These somewhat align with the business aspect of it. So you're going to see some alignment with the business and then the IT aspect of it. So I wanted to kind of show where that kind of fits in with both sides. So with Nutanix project, what we have so far is this is the month, or this quarter we're working on anywhere from 21 to 25 sites. They're still trying to get that evaluated. Right now we have 21 sites. And so we are waiting for requirements from Joachim to get us so we can put in exact numbers of what this quarter is going to end up with. They have to they need to have things completed by late June. Now he said that's changing, but that's what their estimated completion that they're looking to get things completed by. So that would put us at a commitment of April for these orders. So that's the big opportunity that we have in play right now. And then Colleen's side, which we're about to start having discussions with them. She's looking to get 6 sites started by this year, and so that would put us at by Q4. Hopefully, once we start having more discussions with her on that. I put to be determined for the other Q3 and Q1s, because we're just starting to have a lot more education and discussions about the cloud and about files and what in database solutions and what we can offer. So that's kind of open.
So is this the only project? There it is. Okay, thanks.
Yep. So this kind of goes into those projects, 21 distribution sites, and then the Factory of the Future. What they're on, who's their competition today, what could go wrong, where we are in those steps. I think I mentioned before that we're waiting for requirements from Joachim, and then Sean is trying to schedule with us and the Colleen lady, as well as Wes, to see if we can get a meeting, with everybody to kind of show, the value Sean's seen, and then what Colleen would see as well. There are these are 6 sites. They call it kind of like a proof of concept that they're looking at today for these Factory of the Future. But there are 270 locations now. Whether they're going to use them through all, I don't know. But that's the conversations we have to have moving forward with Colleen once we get that meeting.
Is that 54K in total for 6 sites or for each site?
I think that'd be just for total 6 sites.
Okay.
So partners that they work with today, obviously it's Ahead is our key partner that we work with, but that's the reseller. Their equipment is with HPE or Super Micro. So I mean, there's different types of things that we're kind of looking at, to kind of lower costs and to kind of see if Cisco's an option that's out there. So there's a lot of different things that we're kind of looking at, working with their partners moving forward.
Do we have strategies on how to engage? If we're working with Cisco or Azure or Oracle, do we have like a strategy for each one?
So we got to be very careful, especially with Cisco. Sean, so Gibby there's an account rep. His name's Gibby. That they deal a lot with the network side of Sunoco. So they work with Presidio on that piece of the puzzle.
Right.
But Sean has made it very clear and sent an email out to everybody saying everybody needs to stay in their lane. This was been a couple months ago, his exact words. And he was talking to Gibby because he was the one that was pushing. And, Cisco, you guys have the networking piece. I need you to stay in your lane and kind of work that aspect of it. And then Ahead, you have the Nutanix/infrastructure piece. Obviously, so I need you guys to kind of stay there. I'm
sorry, who is saying that?
The customer.
No, who at the customer?
Sean, the IT director. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was kind of eye-opening, so he wanted people to he had his vendors that he liked to be able to use for certain aspects, and he didn't want to put all his eggs in one basket, type of thing. So that there is, I have been talking ahead, and we were talking about whether Cisco would be a good fit for, for some of their equipment. It's because of Sean's statement that it's not something that we're kind of doing as of right now with them. Azure, we have reached out quite a bit to the reps over there. We are having a hard time trying to get connections or to speak with the Azure rep over there. So once we start to kind of get the education, which we just spoke with Joachim last week about doing education about what the cloud strategy is and understanding more of what they're doing today, those applications that we spoke about, and he's getting me that stuff over. We can kind of start to push a little bit harder in strategy on that aspect of it.
If we're having trouble reaching out to Microsoft, I think I found out the woman that is responsible for that relationship, and it's always good to go back to that person. And if there's any issues trying to find someone, then it's always good to I guess you could start from there if it requires her attention.
Do we know how big their contract is with Microsoft?
So far, he said they only have, well, what did Chris say? Chris, what did he say? Something like 100 applications already, or 100 VMs already in there? Along those lines?
Yeah, 100 VMs, and he was going to get us some details about those so that we could kind of cut a position to see where the demarc is for value of NC2.
I would think that depending on what the contract term is, how big it is and all that, maybe the Microsoft teams would be interested in how to burn down the credits and that.
Yeah.
Usually what we see is that's the issue.
Yeah.
They sell this big contract and they're not burning credits fast enough against it. And so we can help them with that, right?
Right. And that's how they get comped is it's by consumption of the solution. It's not.
Exactly.
Oh, so we have about 3 minutes left. So why Nutanix? I think it's everything that I've kind of mentioned earlier on. Is all there's the responsiveness, the relationship that we have with the customer, and then just the visibility on all their infrastructure that they've seen, and they've seen the goodness of how Nutanix kind of brings that to their opportunities. So. That's just a given. And how do we continue to be successful within this company? I think there's key aspects. The number one, I think, is ethical practices. Always do the right thing for the customer. I think that's a given. I mean, there's so many people out there that are just trying to sell something, and I think it's understanding what the customer's needs are, and then being the professional and making suggestions and being transparent, honest, and then continue that partnership with them. I think a big thing is the portfolio review. So has Jasmine Lee have meetings with them, explaining what they have, what they could be using, bringing her in, and then continuing education with the customer, making sure that we're doing the EBXs, the lunch and learns, the certifications aspects. So those are some of the key things that we're obviously doing. And then I have
So Aaron, and you may have this in other slides. I apologize. I haven't looked at the deck today since we last talked. But what I'd like to see, and maybe you've got it in there, is these are ideas of a plan. What I'd like to see is these things attached to people in the account. Here targets, whether we know them or not, but here's the org chart. Here's people in the account that we should be doing this, getting to technical proficiency with. And here's the people within Nutanix that are going to help. Besides Chris, okay, Chris is doing this. Who else is doing that? And bring that all together for all these things. These are all great things, but they're like ideas of a plan. I'd like to see the actual plan that says, here's what we've got going on this month, this quarter, this half year. And these are the people involved in it. Both sides of the table. I don't know, Steve, am I off?
No, I agree. This is like a med pick, but almost like a pre-med pick. So I think, like what are we going to do to be successful? You'd have a contact and you say, this is what I need from this person. Another contact, this is what I need from them. Something like that. Hey, if there's ethical practices, maybe we get our ethical practices leader or documentation and say, okay, well, here's Nutanix, position, or just something like that. There has to be someone accountable for it. And I
Yeah,
have to stop because I have a call with Charter that I
Okay.
must be on.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Just one last comment about that. So think about it. If you're Jeff Adams, or in the East region, you're Susan Smith, I think Smith's her last name, who reports to Jeff in the NC2 sales specialist realm, you give them access to this account plan. Other than them just starting to ideate and all this stuff themselves, there's no direction here about what's needed. And so, I would urge you to get think about a plan, just like, so we'll use the playoffs as an example. They've got their book of plays, right? And everybody can look at the book. Okay, you called this, and here it is. We know what it is. Let's go. Here, I'm coming in and doing something different than the other person that was in there, but I can go here and know what at least what your ideas are around what it is. Now they can jump in and say, hey, Aaron, no, wait a minute. Hey, Chris, this, how about if we do it this way instead of that? But you see where I'm going? I think there needs to be more specifics around the plan. And maybe you have that. I don't know. I may be off base, or too much coffee on a Monday.
No, you're good.
I got accused of that by my own team earlier. It's like, too much coffee, Tony?
No, you're good on that. I guess I'm trying to get back to that slide.
Like I said, you may have it in here. I don't know.
Like,
no, and I don't. I mean, 'cause moving forward, the only thing I have is stuff like, balance sheet and stuff about more Sunoco, which I wasn't planning on going over, but in case unless somebody wanted it.
Yeah, when I saw that, so just from a flow perspective,
Yeah.
you went backwards again. Any of that stuff should be up at the top, and then you should get into your plan and how you're pursuing the account, not go back to here's the product and balance sheet.
Yeah, I guess here's my thought pattern behind was I don't know if anybody would ever want to look at that stuff unless they really wanted to look at it. And I didn't know if I just kept it in the back part.
Put it in an addendum then.
Okay. Do it as an addendum. Okay.
Yep.
All right. That was the point of it being in the back. Is when people looked at it, I did because if I
know some executives. I know some executives, and I've actually called on executives in my career that you give them a deck that's got addendums with all the data shit in it. They'd go look at it and they'd read it, but I think whenever you're going to have a limited amount of time, just like you did today, and so put it there. Somebody wants to go after it, great. But don't go back to that. The most important piece is not just the framing, but it's your plan.
So I guess where I'm wondering how to do that, if these are really the only, Sean and Colleen are the only real true decision makers.
Oh no, there's dozens of other decision makers. We just don't know them. And I'm saying that broadly. I could say that about almost all of our accounts, with the exception of a handful, quite honestly. That's because we don't have executive presence in most accounts. That's because we don't have alignment or at least exposure to other parts of the organization other than infrastructure and IT. And quite often, honestly, infrastructure is not where there's any power nexus of any power at all.
Yeah.
It's plumbing. The way that it's set up in most IT organizations is plumbing. Nobody cares about the plumbing until it gets clogged.
Right.
And where it gets clogged is in the cost and the money and security when there's a breach and that's the clogging. And so there's no emphasis on it in most organizations until there's actually a problem. Now, having said that, I'd be really, really interested for the long term, what Colleen's up to.
Well, that's
Yeah.
and that's the whole point of us getting to that meeting. You know, that's
Right.
we're branching off and doing that. But I won't have that yet until I've had that discussion.
How big is her budget? How many people does she have? Who does she think, what other companies or experts does she admire and think that are on the right track that they want to be like for the factory of the future? Do they have an innovation center where they're actually testing shit out? Excuse my French. Because that's the way that a lot of these organizations work.
Right. Well, and then once again, that's the whole point of the meeting, right? To find out all that information now, right? I mean, and so I wouldn't have any of that information until and I know that was the point of, meeting with her, is to have the discussion, what is the project looking at? What is their initiatives? How many size or what size they are, all
So when is that meeting?
we haven't been set yet. Sean's is trying to work with me and Colleen to see when we can get that set. But it was supposed to be sometime hopefully in February, she said.
And maybe too much coffee again, but my overall impression is you're going to have to break the Sean being the gatekeeper. You're going to have to find a way to go to other parts of the org.
Well, he's not once we get that meeting. He's just trying to broker that initial meeting.
Okay.
That's the initial discussion, and then once that happens, we'll start working because Colleen. I just found out about Colleen recently because I looked back into the system and there were some open opportunities from a year ago because I only got this account 4 or 5 months ago from Joe.
Okay.
And so there was a discussion, I think Chris was on there as well, that they had with, was it with Colleen last year, Chris, or was it somebody else?
I think that's what it was. Yeah. Because remember, I looked up from the meeting invite, her name.
Yeah. So they had a meeting about a year ago with Colleen. And so we're starting to have that. And I guess it was, glazed over eyes. I guess they weren't ready for whatever the option was back then. Now a lot has changed, and so now we're going to start that discussion again. So I guess my question is I wouldn't have any of that information until I actually start having discussions and meetings with her, right?
Yes. So I guess just broadly, I'd say go fast with as many points as you can. Now, before that meeting, what would be interesting to me if I was sitting in your seat is I would go try to do research and get a lot of questions from what other organizations, manufacturing organizations are similar that are Nutanix customers, and what is going on with them, ping those reps, ping those teams, hey, do you guys have a factory of the future kind of innovation going on in that account? What has been the discussion? What have been the decisions? So, to me, I don't even know so factory of the future, what are they after? I mean, it gets to what are they trying to achieve? Just bright, shiny new stuff is not usually the issue. It's a matter of, hey, are we trying to solve for, our productivity right now within each factory sucks and we've got to up the productivity, or, do we have to be able to control the inputs and outputs better to adjust for supply chain? I mean, there's a million different things it could be. Those kind of things could help inform, your questions and everything. And of course, being able to ask the questions that are more somewhat Nutanix tilted without them realizing it's Nutanix tilted necessarily, so what does the factory of the future stuff that she's doing have to do with the going to the public cloud?
Well, that would be the point of the meeting, right? I mean, that's what you're saying is ask us during the meeting. So
Yeah.
is that what you're stating?
Yeah, I'm saying that I personally, I would want to try to have some questions that were kind of leading their discovery questions, but that you could use to ferret out. One of the things that I'm still wondering is where's the nexus of power as it relates to IT in this organization and why?
Mhm.
And I don't know whether Colleen probably is not it completely because that may be where they're putting bets, but there's probably some other, and I'm betting it's definitely not David.
Yeah.
So where are they putting their money? So how big is the Microsoft budget, the AWS budget, all those others on that logo slide, and what are they doing with that? And then you'll start finding the nexus of power in the account.
And that's rolled by with Sean. So that's why they're getting me. Joachim is getting me that information.
Okay.
So that's what they're asking.
Okay, man, I got to run. Sorry,
All
they've
right.
got me on. They've got me on GTS planning. They've got me on Q3 workshop planning and all kinds of stuff.
All good. All right.
Thank you.
Todd,
Thank you
Tony,
for
thanks so
having me.
much.
Have a good one.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
I don't even know what they want me to do. I'm so confused.
I think having like, say for example, you know how you said education and this, that, and other,
Yeah.
having details around, hey, within the next 30 days, Chris and Matt, the two main engineers for Nutanix, will take class XYZ of Nutanix certification, advanced Nutanix education. Like that's a plan going forward of like, instead of saying, yeah, lunch and learns and education is the way to go forward. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the specifics that instead of the topic, what's the detail of the people, what are the action items within Sunoco that either you, we, them are going to actually do to make those topics true?
Okay.
Does that hit home better?
Yeah. I'll do specifics, but yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what the. Just to figure out
Like,
what the heck to put
what's
in
the
there.
plan of attack for those 12 items or whatever that top 10 action item list or whatever, or
Yeah.
action topics?
They kept on going back to this whole like, I need to have all this information about Colleen, but the whole point of the meeting.
Yeah, I think the expectation is for you to do homework on other companies so that instead of the discovery being questions that we ask of them, that mixed in with the discovery are questions that we already know the answers to, that if she answers them the right way, lead to Nutanix. It's kind of what he was saying.
Yeah, but how do you get that information without? I mean, the only filter we have to Colleen right now at this point is Sean. So he's saying like I need to be able to figure out who rolls up to Colleen and start asking them questions? Having a meeting with these lower end people, then
No, not necessarily. I don't know about the Colleen part.
well, that's the thing. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I don't understand. I guess I was. That's why I kept on asking. I didn't mean to be pushing back with him. I don't understand the Colleen aspect, and I don't want to like not and this, I don't want to not do what he's recommending. I just don't get it. Because That's what I got from the conversation. I got from that he wanted me to find out
Well, and
details
that's
about
key
Colleen.
is find out. I don't know how you find out, but like what the budget is for the Factory of the Future stuff compared to, I guess, Sean's budget or a percentage of the main budget, and like what are the, I guess, the individual 10K, let's say, for Colleen's project. But I don't know how you find it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll wait to
Until
figure
you
that
talk to
out.
Colleen.
Because you start having meetings, you have conversations, you build trust.
Yeah.
I guess that's why I'm.
Yeah, I guess the follow-up question would be, okay, you want me to find out like before the meeting with Colleen?